You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
Well, folks, can you hear this? Can you hear this? I'm going to do something here. All right, we're going to roll for initiative. That's the four-sided here. And I got...
Oh, which set of rules?
I got a 3. So I got an initiative. All right, so welcome to 91 Reasons. This is another Patreon episode, but it's not like any Patreon episode we've done so far because I'm here with my good friend HENDEL.
Hello, world.
Big supporter of the show. I always say we're talking on the microphone that HENDEL bought for the show. So this is a guy who's into the show. And HENDEL has got a standing list of all these movies I need to sit and review, which is not work. It's not work. Earlier today, I did Coming to America for Michael Bondi.
That's not work.
Not work at all. It was. Last night I was very enjoyable, and like I always say, and this is a repeat from that episode, is sitting down. Like when people assign the movie, I don't just do the. Oh, I've seen that. Let me do the show. I watch the movie. I do, because now it's a different way I'm watching it. I'm watching it to be critical and to find an angle. What can I talk about? And some of the stuff I discovered in Coming to America really surprised me. For a movie I've seen 30, 40 times, over and over again. I was really stunned. So I love these assignment episodes because they get you out of your comfort zone and into because Coming to America is daunting because I like it so much. It's hard to sit and talk critically, or because you don't want to gush for 30 minutes, right? That's boring.
That's on your list with like Blade Runner, the ones where you're afraid to touch because you don't think you'll do it justice?
A little bit, and that seems silly with a movie like Coming to America, right? But my novel has a lot of scenes that are direct homages to Coming to America. So for whatever reason, it imprinted on me in a way that certain comedies just do. Coming to America, Defending Your Life, Dave, solid non-genre comedies. Can't figure it out. Is it as good as Blade Runner? No, it's not as good as Blade Runner. But as far as Eddie Murphy movies go, it's my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. You know what I mean?
I can see an argument for that. I'd have to go for... what was the buddy cop movie? Damn it!
48 Hours.
Yeah, 48 Hours. Nolte.
Yeah, no, that's a great movie. It's weird, and it's hard in a film roster like Eddie Murphy's. Hard to pick what you think is the best. I mean, look at Trading Places.
Everybody's got their one.
You know, look at Beverly Hills Cop. Look at Delirious. Look at Raw. Look at The Golden Child.
Well, or not.
Or not, right? Yeah. I was talking about The Golden Child. Notable in that Charles Dance is the bad guy who is having a hell of a career now. You know, Charles Dance is from Game of Thrones.
Right.
Also the bad guy in one of my other guilty pleasures, Last Action Hero. But it also has really good stop motion stuff that you'd never see today in a movie. Like when the Coke can turns into a little... You probably don't remember that.
It's been a long
It's totally
time.
Forgettable.
I was just listening to a show the other day about one of my guilty is A Big Trouble in Little China, and they were talking about that compared to Golden Child because they came out at the same time.
Oh, yeah. And
the studio bet everything on Golden Child.
It's almost the same plot. I mean, it's about the underworld right under your nose, you know. The thing is that, you know, God bless him, after Halloween, John Carpenter never got respect in Hollywood again. You know what I mean?
Sad,
and he kept cracking at it and making... I mean, the guy made some of the finest horror movies ever made.
Just horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of
They
stuff.
Live, The Thing, Prince of Darkness, that's Wes Craven. No, John Carpenter, I mean... Escape from New York.
I love that
right?
movie.
I mean,
That's
those
on
are
the list.
Fantastic. I just watched it on your Plex viewer, right?
I put that on there. I have a soft spot for Escape from L.A. too, but
yeah, but New York.
Most people don't. Oh yeah, New York's superior.
And it's weird. I was watching New York, and I'd watched it as a kid, and it makes an impression on you because it's
that
badass.
Soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Man, that was in my head.
But then you watch it as an adult with a critical eye, and it hardly has any sets. It has very little plot.
They shot it in like Cleveland or something.
They shot it what looked like two alleys they had.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because they cared about the movie, they had respect for the material, and nobody's phoning it in. You know, Pliskin is a badass in the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought I really enjoyed the hell out of it. But, I mean, everybody, I don't know anybody doesn't like Escape from New York. But anyways, instead of doing yet another movie review, which is no, we can do them till the cows come home, we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to your heart.
Indeed.
And what got me through high school. Which is what?
Which is role-playing, specifically Dungeons and Dragons. Old school tabletop, baby.
Tabletop. When did the term tabletop come around?
After there was something that wasn't tabletop.
I was going to say.
It was all tabletop.
It had to be something that said, no, I'm not talking about video games. I'm talking about...
Well, I think actually the card games are what maybe start, even though they're technically tabletop too.
Okay.
When the collectible card game stuff...
Yeah,
Magic
well,
the Gathering and all that came in.
When that stuff came around, that's when I was like, I checked out. Like I know people. My friend Larry is massively into Magic the Gathering, and they sit down and they try to explain it to you, and my head just swims.
Well, if you have the strategic mindset, because RPGs, D&D anyway, started with tactical wargaming, right? You're reproducing, and it's all the math and the tables and the calculations and the strategy. And that's a lot of what the card games are about.
Yeah,
You play. How do you play the card? When do you play the card? They build these custom decks. That it's all about the strategy angle, and that's my least favorite part of D&D.
Yeah, no, it's funny when you talk about D&D. To me, when I look back at the camaraderie and the good times we had, it was just about adventuring and hanging out, and every once in a while there was a duel with something. You know what I mean? But that wasn't why we were doing it. We weren't doing it to go like, well, we're badasses and we're gonna fight. Who cares? It was about. I was trying to explain because it's funny. My wife knew we were doing this episode today, and she's like, I wish I'd gone to high school with you. I said, no. Don't play that. You're a nerd girl back in the day. Yes, we have legitimate nerd girls. That nerd culture has permeated so much that the stigma and the social pariah aspect of this has all been lifted. But when you and I did it, I'm talking 1985.
Yeah, earlier, but yeah.
This kind of okay, you have to understand, folks, we're sitting here. I've got a full set of D&D dice right here. You can hear them. I've got a whole stack of my lead figures here from role-playing. And this kind of stuff, and let's not forget the little bag that it went in, the little belt pouch that you had.
Little velvet recycled Crown Royal bag.
This was not only woman repellent, but the bullies looked at it as like the spark, the catalyst. I'm going to hurt you. Oh yeah. What is that? Oh, these are my role-playing figures. You're dead.
Or you're doodling on your character sheets in class, any of that kind of stuff.
Forget about it.
Maps.
Oh, no. If you weren't talking about sporting events or sneaking beers, you didn't get any girls. And none of this appealed to women at all, ever.
The first woman,
and I'm sure there's one or two that are listening like, well, I did. Okay, there's exceptions. Exceptions to every rule.
We'll get to that. But at the time, I'm trying to remember the first woman I ever met that was actually interested in any of this. I must have been doing this for at least 10 years before I actually met one.
Right.
Wow, she's the unicorn. She exists.
So, and mine was, we went to Gen Con, which was a local...
You actually went to Gen Con?
I went to Gen Con because it was in LA one year, and we all went, and Gen Con was a gaming convention.
Right.
It was totally different from a normal sci-fi convention. Yes, they had a dealer's room, but it was very small because the emphasis was on people getting together from all over the country to play these games. And I remember the first thing that struck me is I walked into a room where they were doing aerial dogfight World War II role-playing. This is, I am not joking, they had planes on sticks, right? And there must have been 40 of them playing. So one guy, he's got his plane on the ground. He rolls the dice like this. They go, 7. And he moves his plane 7 up, and on the stick raises it up a little bit. And an hour later, he might take off. And then across the way, there's 2 guys having a dogfight that takes all night.
Absolutely.
And nobody gets hit because it's all done real-time, turn-based. Oh, yeah. I just remember watching
it. And they've got long tables of ballistics and how far does this bullet go?
Yes.
And, absolutely.
It was fascinating. So we'll jump back in time, but for the purposes of this, we sat down in the Dungeons and Dragons room because that's what we were most comfortable with. And we were out of our league. Because when you pulled up your character sheet and your weapons and your gold and this, you had to tell the dungeon master where it all came from. What modules it came from.
You didn't want any munchkins sneaking in with their shopping list.
Nobody there goofing. It was all and if you died there, like they took your character sheet and you were done. And I remember turning to Eric, my friend Eric Hardy, and going, we're out of our league. And we actually ended up in, this is 1980, I want to say it's 86. We ended up in the Macintosh lab of Gen Con.
Wow.
Remember the Macintosh?
Oh, yeah, the original
one.
The square boxy one, yeah.
And they had Macintosh, and they had Apples, and they had IBMs, and we were playing Sword of the Valiant on Macintosh, and the first version of Leisure Suit Larry on computer. It's like little sticks.
In monochrome.
Oh, yeah.
Little stick figures.
And I just remember thinking, we're totally out of our league, and there was no cosplay, nothing like that. There might have been 4 girls there, but they were larger girls, so there wasn't a lot of action. And this is one of those conventions, because I'm going to guarantee it was at the Pasadena Hilton. People today think I'm crazy. My mom dropped us off Friday morning and picked us up Sunday night.
Yeah,
we didn't have a room. We lived in the hotel for the weekend. We hung out in the bathroom to clean up. We bummed showers off of people. Some of us stank. We were living the con life. So Dungeons and Dragons was, it's hard to describe what it meant. It was an immediate gateway to being friends with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The right people, absolutely.
Sure. There's nothing like, because we used to sit under the tree at Norwalk High on a circular table.
This is exactly what I remember doing.
Circular table
at school.
Oh yeah. And
absolutely.
you waited for that bell to ring, because the 30-minute lunch meant we're gonna have some action here. And the players sat, the viewers stood and watched. The dice were brought out of.
Whoa! You had viewers?
Nerds who weren't playing that day, yes.
My school was tiny, so there were no viewers.
Oh,
there
no.
was me and like the 3 guys that we were playing, and that's it.
Oh, yeah, Norwalk was pretty big. We had a lot of people. I was, I've said this before, I was president of the drama club. So as far as the nerd goes, I was king of the nerds. So they all gravitated, and we were all, the thing with nerds and geek culture is everybody's welcome. There's no judgment. You don't know how to play? That's all right. Get a piece of paper.
Yeah, we'll show you. We'll roll your character.
Here's what you need. A piece of paper and the ability to sit there for a while. And I think that's why Dungeons and Dragons, not only did it appeal, but really proliferated, because unlike Atari games or later on Nintendo, there was very little buy. If somebody had the guide, that's great. But you didn't have the guide. Didn't need it.
Yeah, just some graph paper. That's a bit of a luxury. You can do it on regular paper, but you can draw some maps, make up some monsters, make up some characters. Yeah, it's all very, very portable.
I'm trying to figure out where it all came from.
This is me too. I can't remember. I remember I had the box set, the original red box D&D back in, I guess, 81, 82.
TSR.
Like yeah, but I don't remember how I got it. If it was a present from my mom, which would be weird given what happened a few years later. We'll get to that.
She was tragically killed by a dragon.
No, the Satanic Panic was an
of
issue
course,
at my house.
The Tom Hanks Mazes and Monsters movie.
Well, there's a story there. We'll get to that. Or if I was hanging out in a bookstore and it looked interesting, big dragon on the cover of the box, and I bought it with like birthday money or something. I remember having it, playing it out there on the playground with the crayons, rubbing it into the dice.
Yeah.
To get the numbers.
Oh, that's great.
All that stuff. But I can't remember how I got it.
We were talking before the show began. In 7th grade, my teacher, Mr. Benton, my all-time hero, was a big thrift shop guy. And he was always buying board games. In fact, he had an elective in 7th grade called Game Theory, where you could play games and then write reports on the mechanics of the gameplay. And then to pass the class, you had to make your own game. And he brought in a really expensive game called Dark Tower. Every kid in the 80s wanted this game.
I had that game.
It was 80, I would say 82 or 83, because this was 83, 84 when we got it.
It had like 6D batteries, some ridiculous number of batteries.
Yes, and it was like a $50 buy-in.
Yeah, it was pricey.
Back when minimum wage is like 3 something.
Exactly.
So it represents a heady buy-in for your family. Like if you want this for Christmas, this is all you're getting.
This is the thing.
Right. So he brought in one that didn't have the tower operational. So we took the
Did you have it as a prop though?
No. Didn't have it at all.
Not there at all. Okay.
No. So what happened was we spent probably 3 months devising how to play that game without the tower, using dice, using the neck bones of a snake, using all the pegs and the cards and these lead figures here. And we hit a thrift store one time, and you know those pseudo Italian souvenirs that are like the swords go on the wall, but they're not really swords, that kind of crap. I found a little tiny 5-inch black turret tower, and I put it. We put it in the
middle of the board.
Middle of the board, and that dragon there, his head popped out. No, the thin one from the Dungeons and Dragons electronic game. That one there.
Oh, this here. Okay.
His head popped out, and that became the Dark Tower. I still have it. It's in the garage. When we all went our separate ways, I put it in my pocket. But we spent Saturdays going down to the school, riding our bikes, and playing Dark Tower for 3 to 5 hours. While he did busy work, we, instead of running around and causing trouble, we played Dark Tower. And it became social, and it's some of the best memories I have was Saturday at Loretta F. Lambton. So I can assume moving from elementary, because we went from elementary to high school. There was no middle school where I went. We went from 7th grade to high school, 8th grade, 8 to 12. So I think what happened was you can't take Dark Tower with you. So what are we going to do with all this crap? Play D&D. I think that's what happened. I also am pretty clear that, you know, my mother was a big thrift store person too, so I'm pretty sure we got a couple of those books at the thrift store to get us started. But again, the thing with D&D was you didn't have to play by the rules. You only played by the rules that you were comfortable with.
That made sense to you. Right. Everybody's got house rules.
Yeah, it was fun. It's like Monopoly. You go to somebody's house and play Monopoly, and you go, wait a minute, you guys do what? Well, we put all the money into free parking, and if you ran out of free parking, you... No. Everybody's got their own rules, you know? Like, some people play the roll 3 times doubles, go to jail.
Right.
Some people don't. I love that. That's what makes games fun, is what are your rules on it. So, you said it was small at your school.
It was tiny. I had like 3 guys I remember playing with me at the elementary school. This is like 5th, 6th grade maybe. And we just, like you were describing, exactly. We'd sit at the playground on the little table under the tree and play our little campaigns. And it was fantastic. And then it was a little private religious school, little parochial school. And we did go, all of us together pretty much, to the same high school, another religious parochial high school. And D&D wasn't as big a thing. I mean, not that it was big at my little school, at my elementary school, but in high school it was even less of a thing.
There's more of a distraction in high school, because most guys are completely absorbed with girls.
I would have been if I could.
Well, yeah, me too. I was as absorbed with women as they would let me be.
Exactly.
So I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
And I wasn't doing myself any favors in that department. I really wasn't.
None of us were.
But the thing is, I was big even then. So I looked like I should have been one of the jocks.
Right.
And so the geeks, kind of to a certain extent anyway, thought of me initially that way. But the jocks knew exactly what I was immediately.
They could smell you.
You're not one of us.
They could smell you a mile away.
Not that I ever had any interest in being in their group, but I never had a chance at it, even if I had.
Yeah,
I was the biggest geek in the room every single time.
How weird would that be?
It was interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, every time you see a tall person, everybody just assumes you play basketball or some sport.
Exactly. And I had no aptitude.
I'm so happy. Like, I never had any of that. Obviously, no one ever. The only thing I got was my relatives were convinced I was going to become a jockey. Isn't that funny? Because I didn't start growing until I was 15. When I entered high school, I was 4'11". I was really, really short. At one point, I think I've told this story, my mom took me to UCLA Medical Center. They were going to break my legs and lengthen them. And my mother was like, no, let him be. And the thing is I've never had a problem with my height. It's one of those things like, I just picked different heroes. My heroes were Michael J. Fox, Danny DeVito, like short guys. This is the way it goes, And around our D&D circle, it was the wild bunch of misfits. We had Eric Hardy, who was mixed. His mom was white, his dad was black. We had Richard Ramirez, who was our chubby guy like Chunk. We had John English, who was the rich boy whose dad owned the video store. Dave Mandela, who was the loner. Tim Barnhart, who was even nerdier than we were. Like, we had a real mix. And on the playing field of Dungeons & Dragons, everybody was equal. Because it was about your imagination. It wasn't about your athletic prowess, your grades, nothing. Now,
that's the hardest thing to explain to people sometimes. When you're trying to explain to them D&D and games like it. They're like, how do you win? You don't win. You win don't, not like you're used to anyway.
Yeah, no. Here, you win if at the end of the day you look up and you go, I never want this moment to end.
And if you're still telling stories about what happened years later, remember that time when you ran through the thing and you looked up a thing
and none of it ever happened.
Exactly. And it's all in your head, but it's a shared hallucination. It's amazing.
Before VCRs got cheap. And VCRs didn't get cheap until late 90s, mid 90s. Having a TV and a VCR in your bedroom were a complete rich kid luxury. John English had a laser player in his room.
I had one of those laser video discs. I don't remember where I scored.
He had the laser video disc, and then he had the giant mega laser.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the laser, the one with the needle.
Yeah, the RCA picture disc.
Not laser, though, the picture disc. Yeah.
Where you slide it in and pull it out.
And then pull the case out, right.
He also had the top-loading... You put the laser disc in, you close it, and it goes, and it spins to get the speed, and it had a little indicator bar.
That it was up to speed.
That it was up to speed, and the movie would play. I had, no joke, I learned about the recycler. Remember the recycler?
I remember the recycler.
And I looked at the recycler, and one day a guy had a beta VCR for $20. And we had a beta in the living room, so all of our movies were beta. This was a good thing for me. So I begged my mom to go get it, and we went and got it, and it weighed 40 pounds. It had dials on it. It was a top loader, and it had ka-chunk,
to tension the tape? Or?
No, to change the channel on TV. It was completely analog, and it didn't really work, so I had to pull the top off, put the tape in, help it load the tape through the machine, and then and then I can watch a movie. But the thing is when you're faced with stuff like that, you never view it like, God damn it! You view it like, hold on, this is how we do it. Doesn't everybody do it like this? And so, on the weekends, watching movies was not always optimal with that kind of setup. So, my friends would come over, we would walk to Crawford's Market in Norwalk. We would each get a bottle of Springfield soda and whatever $1 worth of the plain wrapped chocolate pies were, and we would play Dungeons & Dragons from noon to 2 in the morning on a Saturday. And those were some of the best times I ever had growing up, because we were just there to have fun. No pressure. I mean, nobody was missing out on any dates. We played right there in the garage of my house. It was so much fun.
I remember those nights where you finally roll the books, fold the books up, you look out the window and the sun's coming up. Yeah. I remember that, the sun coming up and just. Yeah. Oh.
And what were you saying earlier? Tom Hanks when Tom Hanks was really young, made a TV movie called Mazes and Monsters based on a true story.
Well, supposedly,
I've looked up the true story. It's nothing like the movie. The true story is some kid went into this series of underground catacombs and set up these tableaus. Like, I've got the book, and you see pictures and you're like, the movie made it sound like this guy started playing Dungeons & Dragons and lost his mind and never recovered from D&D land.
Yeah, the actual story, I believe he had some mental issues. Mental problems, he was off of meds and a couple other things.
So D&D got this reputation as a gateway to worshiping Satan.
Yeah,
the dark forces.
Kind of the precursor. I get the J.K. Rowling stuff got a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Kind of a shadow of it. But the whole idea that playing this game is going to teach you how to cast real spells and you'll join the devil.
It seems so silly now.
It does.
But this is what they blamed.
It was a big deal.
Before heavy metal took the rap.
Yes.
It was Dungeons and Dragons.
And in some ways, D&D didn't help itself. Some of the early manuals had some illustrations that
were a little... there were pentagrams on the cover, you know?
Well, that and some of the monsters were, topless and things like this. In the grand scheme of things, no big deal. But at the time, it was enough to set people off.
If you're a third level repeating phantasm, you're not going to stop to put a top on.
I was thinking, what was I can picture it in my head, but I've forgotten half the monster names.
Succubus?
Yeah, well, yeah, she was a good one. The Lamia, I think, was a half lion, half woman kind of thing. And the woman was the good part. But yeah, like I mentioned, I was at a small kind of religious school.
God help you.
Oh, yeah. And in high school, we had gotten our little group together, and we were at this one guy's house to play. His parents were not home, and that was not accidental. We'd gotten a guy who was older than us to DM the game for us. And he was a reputation as a really good DM. You wanted to play with this guy. Unfortunately, Mom came home early, as you kind of expect. And this was the worst possible setup for somebody who was already inclined to think this was kind of a hinky game. She probably heard something about it from her friends a little bit. But when she comes home, it's all her little kid, her precious little boy and his friends sitting around with this senior. We were all freshmen. The senior was... the name was Bruce. Big black guy. Goatee. You couldn't, if you were casting a Satanist who was recruiting poor little innocent kids, this is the guy you would have picked. Nicest guy ever. But the look of this guy, So she comes home and we're all huddled around the table with this guy looming over us, just, She lost her mind. All of us got sent home immediately. Phone calls were made to parents, and at that moment, my entire D&D library went away.
That's unbelievable. Oh my God.
And I can't blame my mom for it. She was, I don't remember her ever having any issues, at least not any that she expressed to me before that incident. But
it's hard to believe though. Like, it sounds like you're talking like Footloose, where rock and roll.
She comes home and this party is going on,
and I remember my mom was really religious, but she never looked at it like that. Thank goodness. But there were some of the sets that came with accessories in addition to the figures, and one of them was a pentagram, a little pewter pentagram, not pewter, but lead, with little candles around it, and you could paint the candles. It never even occurred to me, I never even engaged with the idea that it was about Satan and all that. I was like, no, we're battling monsters. We're the good guys.
Right.
It just so happens that the good guys' tools of the trade come in a Crown Royal bag, okay? That was the other thing, was rite of passage of getting the right dice bag, because everybody starts off with the Crown Royal bag.
Yeah.
You turn it inside out, it doesn't help.
I think I still have mine.
I took mine and got a thread puller and tried to take off the Crown Royal friggin' logo. It only made it worse. And I remember going to a convention, the first thing I bought was, I'm buying a real dice bag because I want to be legitimate. The other thing was we all went in 1984. We went to 85 Renaissance Fair.
Yep.
And that was the closest we ever got to it's real. We could work, if we wanted to work this, it'd be like being in the Dungeons and Dragons game.
I went, my first Renaissance Fair, a friend of mine took me, and I remember, there are no pictures, thank God, but I wore an outfit that was kind of this vaguely monkish thing that was made from black karate gi, and this robe that was made out of wallpaper with tapestry patterns on it. It was horrible. They're velvet flocked wallpaper. Yeah. That was my robe thing.
It's just so funny because everybody, it's different now. With cosplay, everything's changed. Anything that back in the day you had to create, somebody makes for you now. But when we went in 85, everybody was a monk. Because that's the only thing you could scrounge up.
Easy.
Was some kind of robe and a length of rope as a belt and a stick. And I remember our friend Scott was going hardcore. And Scott wrapped carpet around his feet and rope to be like handmade boots. And I said, Scott, it's a lot of walking.
Yeah, yeah.
This is back when it was in Agora Hills.
Right, that's my first time
It's
too.
all walking, Scott. You're going to die. He's like, no, I want it to be realistic and real. I said, they serve Pepsi there, Scott. It's not real. We're just having fun. And we loaded up. This is the station wagon with the backward-facing seat out the back. Me, Eric, and Scott rode to the Ren Fair. An hour in, his shoes fell apart. And, it was just so much fun, though. Like, going to the Ren Fair was like, oh, all these women have large breasts, and they're prominently displayed.
There are women.
There are
then
women.
There's the bonus about their dress.
Yes. And I remember there was a game called Cathedral. I think they still make it. It's like that game with the cars where you have to slide the cars around and get the cars out. There was a game called Cathedral where it was about a city.
Okay.
It was all wood. And I remember walking up, and the guy doing the presentation was John Davidson from That's Incredible. And I just was like, that really is incredible. It's John Davidson. And we ran into Mark Price, who played Skippy on Family Ties.
I'm thinking of the wrong Mark. I'm thinking Beastmaster Mark.
That's Mark Singer.
Mark
Price
right.
is a complete dork. No, Mark Singer I would have fainted because he was Donovan in V. But no, I just remember having a good time. I also remember, and this sort of, I've only been in the Ren Fair twice, back in '85, and then Rachel and I went in '94, '95.
So when it was out in Riverside.
Yeah, and to me, it was just like, it's too expensive. Every single thing, I've already paid a ticket price, and yet everything in here costs $1 million. And I as a theme park guy, I'm not used to that, so I have not been in the Ren Fair since.
It's actually running right now. It started last weekend.
Yeah,
it's out in Irwindale now.
All of my friends are Ren Fair people. But have you been lately?
Oh, yeah.
Why are there so many monsters there now?
It's branched out a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who run the thing still try to aim for historical authenticity, and they've still got people who review
God bless
the costumes.
their hearts.
People who are willing to wear Elizabethan velvet in the middle of June when
nuts.
it's 100 plus.
In California.
All power to you, guy. I can't do that. My
do it.
latest thing now, I used to do, I mentioned the monk originally, and over time I gradually built up a couple of decent outfits. Nowadays, I go easy. I go on time travel a day, and I wear pajamas and a bathrobe, and I stand around with my thumb out like this. And it's awesome. The most comfortable cosplay ever.
That's really funny. You have your towel?
I do.
You never go anywhere without a
Don't
towel.
live without it, exactly. But yeah, Ren Fair was kind of the second leg of my D&D. D&D has touched every angle of my life. Everything that's important to me about my life these days, in some way, traces all the way back to that.
Well, you should. Are you willing to admit your name is your D&D character?
My main character from back in the 80s, yeah.
That's fantastic.
My wife, a few years ago, decided she wanted to change names, and she had her own reasons for that, and I was not terribly enthusiastic. And then she suggested that I could use that name, and it amused me enough that I jumped all over.
You can do whatever you want.
I've been using both names for years anyway.
If I changed my name to my Dungeons and Dragons character,
did you have a main character?
Of course, we all did.
You got to help me, because I have fun with this. People will look at my name on a card or a form or something, and they'll say, "What is that? Like German?" I'm like, "No, guess." I just kind of sit back and wait for them to roll through all the possible.
It's orc.
Yeah. I've had American Indian. I've had various flavors of Scandinavian. I've had. But
see, here's the thing. People like that, I want to punch in the face. Maybe it's just the way I was brought up, but I don't give a crap what your lineage is. I care about who you are.
I'm curious about
who are you and what have you done. People will go like, "Well, I'm 132nd Iroquois." I guess who cares? What does that mean? Who cares? Just who are you? What have you done?
The only reason that's any way significant is sometimes somebody who's that interested to know what nth degree they are, something will have some interesting stories or facts they can tell me.
Yeah, but I would run.
Not about them.
But I know. But the minute I sense that coming on, I'm like, I have to go. I don't want to get stuck in this.
No, I'm a mutt and I'm proud of it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, me too. I don't even care. I'm very honest. I mean, I'm estranged from I was told by the court, stay away from my father's side of the family. So I don't even know. I don't even care. I am the culmination of me right here today. Whether I'm 1/10th idiot or 1/22nd dumbass doesn't change the fact of who I am. But no, if my Dungeons & Dragons' name
Okay,
was
we're
me.
going back to this.
Okay.
Did you have a preferred character, class, or race that you liked to play?
I was a paladin, but I was also a bit of a berserker.
Did you ever read the Dragonlance books back in the day?
No.
Okay, that was a big part of my D&D thing. So, okay,
Yeah,
so
no.
a berserker paladin.
It's just
that's an
so dumb.
mix.
Here's what I was.
Something Bright Star.
The thing that interjected with my Dungeons and Dragons life was obviously the movies, and for whatever reason, I really liked Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Okay.
The bad one.
The Dream Warriors?
No,
that's the third.
That's the third. This is Freddy's Revenge.
Okay.
This is the one where the guy doesn't know if he's gay or not. But it's not part of the film. It's just subtext. Even the director was like, yeah, that's what it means. But in the movie, Freddy can enter the real world by bursting out of people. Like they go like a chest burst. So they go, oh! And then Freddy comes out of them and like throws their shell aside. So I wanted to do that in the dungeon. So I came up with a way to do that.
As a paladin?
Well, you just take the armor off, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was part gaseous cloud.
Oh, wow.
He could turn into a gas, go into people, and then assume human form. And
You had some wild house rules, man.
Absolutely. So I was GC Dread.
Oh!
Does that sound like the opening act of Pantera?
Does GC stand for anything?
Gaseous cloud.
Oh, gaseous cloud, of course.
But like, hey, thanks for coming out. Pantera's coming out. But first, please welcome all the way from Fontana, GC Dread.
Oh, that is awesome.
Isn't that great? And the fact that I even remember that stupid, like, it's just so dumb.
Wow. So were you usually the DM, or did you like to play more?
I rarely played. Obviously, with my... in life now, I write books, I do stuff like this. I was always the default. Jeff's the DM. He's going to come up with the stories. He's going to walk us through, and they would have an idea of what we were going to do. Somebody would grab a module and like we'd get 3 lines from it, and that would become the basis for the whole weekend. The treasure there. Like, did you read Ready Player One?
Yes, I did.
The whole opening segment is about Dungeons and Dragons. He was hardcore and by the rules. We never played like that because it just wasn't fun.
I was actually in a campaign for a while. It was called the Ultimate Campaign, and our goal was to follow all of the 2.5 edition rules. All of them.
You got more patience than me.
Well,
because it involves this all day. Every move, you're rolling the dice. And
that's D&D.
I know, but we wanted to just... Here's the thing. We wanted to escape the crap life that we had. And we didn't want to roll dice all day. We wanted to... Like the movie Heavy Metal. You've seen Heavy Metal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When John Candy's character, the little nerd guy, gets transported and he's a badass. We wanted, and when they give him the chance to go home, he's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we want. We wanted to like escape the Norwalk garage that we were in.
Well, in a way, the more details you come up with and the more detailed you make it,
the more
it immerses you a little bit.
I get
that was part of the angle for the Ultimate and that's what the game that HENDEL came from, was that game. And so,
did you make that name up, or did it come from the module?
I don't remember who made that. Oh no, we didn't. That was an ongoing. That went on for a couple of years.
Because I'm thinking
we recorded our game sessions. God knows why. I don't know where any of those tapes are.
Oh, you gotta find those tapes.
We were very, very, very serious. Nerd serious about this for quite some time.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, Dungeons and Dragons is like Fight Club. You decide your level of commitment. Mm-hmm. What are you? Because it's all about camaraderie and having fun. And if you're getting into a shouting match over the rules, you're not playing it right.
Or you're with the wrong people.
You're with the wrong people, right? And at Gen Con, we were out of our league. Because I remember that guy going, tell me about your sword. Well, it's a
sword.
Where did you procure it? I bought it at where was that shop? Who forged it? And I'm like, oh no, I don't have the answers to these questions. Or like the joke I always have with my kids is, one of the guys had a 15-pound Vorpal blade. I don't know what that means, but I have said it at least once a week since 1985.
I don't remember them being measured by weight.
15-pound vorpal
15
blade.
pounds is the part of that description that sounds weird.
I have no idea what that means. It's like the Kessel Run in parsecs. Is it time or space? Nobody knows. So, when did you get out of Dungeons & Dragons, or did you ever?
Well, see, D&D turned into, like I mentioned, in high school, I had that whole satanic panic thing. I kind of fell out from it a little bit.
You sound like you're saying satanic mechanic, like rock and roll.
Anticipation.
Say it.
But the thing I discovered kind of as D&D was fading a little bit, I got into computers.
Yeah, well, naturally.
And this is back in the days when long distance meant something. And so I had already, my parents had got me a VIC-20. My first, 5 computers.
Commodore VIC-20.
Yeah. My first 5 computers combined might have been as powerful as your phone there.
Oh, no, yeah.
But I was into computers, and then one year I was working at school, summer school, and I discovered they had a computer that was connected to the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And oh boy, did we go to town on that, and ran up a massive bill that we found out about at the end of the summer. But I discovered bulletin boards, which were the kind of the precursor to the internet, everything dial-up. And that's how I reconnected to D&D, because I found these bulletin boards that were dedicated to role-playing games, and that was how I found the other people I wanted to play with. At my school, there really wasn't anybody else that was as into it as I was.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Especially after the incident.
In high school, the guys that I played Dungeons & Dragons with in 8th grade were the same guys that followed us around on graduation day from party to party. It was the same group of guys. So I'm extraordinarily lucky to have that kind of high school. I totally get that. And the thing that ended D&D for us was, somebody got a girlfriend, somebody had the hint of a girlfriend. We actually morphed into trying a different role-playing game. We played the Ghostbusters role-playing game. Of course. And that changed the tone, because D&D is mildly serious. It's as serious as you want to be. The Ghostbusters game was just fun. We were Ghostbusters. They took that line from the movie about the franchise rights, and we opened up our, I'm doing quotation marks, our Ghostbuster franchise. Everybody assumed a role, and we actually played those modules of fighting ghosts and rolling.
That's kind of awesome.
It was so much fun. The best one was Egon invents a thing that can take a ghost trap and makes it mobile. So they all get stolen. So somebody's running around New York throwing ghost grenades in buildings. And I was like, that's a movie. Let's play that. Cool. Yeah, it was a lot of that. That Ghostbusters role-playing game had a lot of fun to it.
That may be one of the few games I still to this day I own my weight in RPG manuals, D&D and everything else. But Ghostbusters is the one I don't think I ever touched, and I don't know how I missed it. That sounds amazing.
It was a lot of fun. They didn't do a lot for it. There was no lead figures. It was just the few modules that they did. But it was a lot of fun. And then we discovered there was a Comics Unlimited in Garden Grove.
I remember that one.
We went there one time and there's superhero role-playing game. And oh my God, have you ever seen the Watchmen LED set?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it comes with the owl ship. Up until the movie, it was the only way to get any representation of those characters in three-dimensional form, ever. I've never owned it. It's always out of my price range. But we looked at those. I think we tried them for a while. But those ones were problematic in that when you went to conventions, the way they demonstrated them was, remember HeroClix? Uh-huh. They demonstrated them like HeroClix with a whole city.
A big map board laid
out. A big model, yeah, with 3D buildings. And I'm like, I don't have the space. My mom's not going to let us do that. And then, obviously, in 87, West End Games came out with Star Wars. And we tried that one. But by 87, most of us in my group were 16. Hanging out at my house on a Saturday night wasn't fun anymore. We were cruising Hollywood and going to the movies, and we had jobs and we're making money. So life just sort of shifted, But as you can see by the figures I have here, I never lost that feeling you got from playing the game. And again, the camaraderie. And even though I don't talk to those people anymore, a couple of them I have on Facebook that are legitimate friends. And if I send a picture of these figures, they know right away what I'm talking about. And it really does, it gives you a friendship that you don't get just watching sports together.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
you're
shared experiences.
Exactly. You're participating.
You went on adventures together.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm still connected to most of the people that I did this with because of, like I said, that transition over into the electronic age. So I started, that's my T-shirt here. I started my own bulletin board dedicated to that Ultimate Campaign
That's fantastic.
D&D game. And it eventually grew well beyond that. But that's what the Belching Dragon started as. It was a bulletin board, computer bulletin board I set up for the people playing that game. And for close to a decade, that group stayed together and just kept growing. And I met my wife through that.
Oh, I had no idea. That's fantastic.
I met her online through my bulletin board back in
Wow.
87.
Wow, that's archaic computer.
Yeah, no, not 87, not 91. I'm a little off there.
Still archaic.
But, oh, yeah.
There wasn't a Stargate in 94.
I had one
was
of
the
those.
first
I had
website for a movie.
full-size briefcase with a little computer in it that ran on AA batteries, had a little like 4-line LCD screen, rubber cup modem like you see in War Games.
War Games, yeah.
Yes, I
Whopper.
actually used one of those. And I would lug this around with me to places. I would go to work, and on my breaks, I would get this thing out and unplug the fax machine.
And people had no idea what you were
they had
doing.
no idea what I was doing.
No.
But that's so the D&D aspect became just a part of that.
Yeah.
I had my whole group around me, and most of those people I'm still in connection with one way or another. That was that same group that went and did the Renaissance fairs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was
That's
terrific.
a testament to what the game, how it brings people together in a way that few things can. And that's saying something, you know. I don't think you get that camaraderie playing Call of Duty and calling each other.
No, mostly
a-hole.
you're screaming at each other when you do that.
It's weird to think like I would go somewhere and sit down and play a 4-hour game like that, but 10 minutes of that war game on the computer on the PlayStation, I'm done.
There may be an analog to that because I know people who run like Warcraft guilds,
Yeah.
and they feel about them the way I did about my old gaming group.
I've got friends at work who talk about Warcraft the way we talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, I can't get sucked into that.
Well, and that's the thing. Talking about when we finally left D&D, I never really left it, but I stopped playing eventually.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Well, it's life.
I still collect the books. Like I said, I to this day,
It's too bad. Last year at the swap meet, I found an entire collection of books.
All the original ones?
Yeah, I paid $50 for it, and I ended up parting it out for about $600 because some of them were really rare.
Some of them were rare, like
some of them were
deities and demigods that had the original Cthulhu mythos.
There was an original
Legends and Lore.
No,
maybe,
the starter set with all the pieces.
The red box?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then there were some, not what you'd think. They were really late modules, the ones they didn't print a lot of, like late 90s modules.
Really?
Stuff that I put it on the internet, on eBay, and people were just, oh my God, $35, $40 for like 5 pieces of paper. You know, it was fantastic, you know, but that's the way it goes, you know. I don't have space to. I cannot. If I kept everything I've ever collected from the swap meet, my house would look like a nightmare.
Technically, I still play. I still have a huge box of dice, and I am in a campaign. It hasn't played a session since last Halloween, but I am in a campaign that a friend of mine
That's no
runs.
different than stopping a chess game and leaving the board intact, right?
Yeah.
There's no difference.
The DM is a busy guy, and he only gets a chance to run the game, every couple of months, maybe. But
have you ever been in
technically, I
mixed
still
company
play.
and go, look, I gotta call my dungeon master?
I got to remember to do that one of these days.
What?
Well, my wife plays. That's how I met her. So it's
That's
not
a rarity.
Yes.
That's a rarity. It's funny you say that because I've had moments where I've been at conventions and again, cosplay's gotten massive. It's why people go to conventions now when it used to be just something that was there. And I've seen some of the most beautiful women you've ever seen dressed in outfits that I can't believe they're in that superhero outfit. Catwoman, Power Girl, Supergirl, you name it. And there's always some bored-looking guy with them. And I always just want to walk up and go, you should marry. I said, I know it seems like this is not what you're looking for because you're 21, but this girl, you should marry her today.
Immediately.
Any woman that would go through this, oh my God. I mean, this is a girl with an open mind. She's fun. And like I said it on way back in the show, on the Chasing Amy episode. Women think it's about hair color and makeup and the right outfit. It isn't.
No.
It's about does she look like she's having a good time? That's the sexiest thing of all. And
is she confident about it?
Exactly.
You got it, strut it, baby.
You meet a woman playing Dungeons and Dragons in this day and age, that's somebody that your ears prick up. Like on a nature show. What? Wait, there's something here, guys. And it's like when I see the Laura Crofts at the con, and there's all... I'll even... Next time at Comic-Con, I will take pictures. Because I always take pictures of the girl, but if you look to the right or left, there's always a guy standing there with all her stuff.
Is he like a jock type who just isn't into this whole thing, or what's?
Yeah, also
because that's part of it. That even the girls aren't necessarily, and I don't want to get into the whole geek, fake gamer.
Some of them aren't into it. No,
some of them really are into it, and other ones, this is my job.
But see, you can tell the booth babes that are hired to be there are so different from the girl out front who's like, I made this myself.
Yes,
I made this witchblade. And you're like, you sure did, honey. What little there is of it, you sure did. So yeah, no, I get that totally. But no, it's like when I met Rachel, and you have to bring a girl home at some point, right? And I'm like Coming to America, he won't take Lisa to his house because he wants to look poor, and I'm at the door of my room going, "Oh God, Rachel, I collect toys." A lot of them. And I opened the door, and when I lived on Beach Boulevard, I had a bedroom, which was very nice, and then there was another room connected to it, which wasn't big enough for a bedroom, but it was big enough to hold thousands of action figures and toys. It looked like a stock room at Toys R Us. And I remember opening the door and Rachel going, "Oh my God, look at this crap." But to her credit, she stayed. And that's how you know, like, look, it's like 50 Shades of Grey, like, I'm going to show you my playroom. And she's thinking, like, no, it really is a playroom. It's full of toys. It's full of action figures and this and that.
I was worse because I wasn't even smart enough to be embarrassed about it. I was like, hey, woman, come on in! And then, the back of my brain probably was a tiny little voice screaming, "Slow down!
She's
hide the Heather posters at least."
Yeah.
Nope. Come on in.
You know, it's funny. I have Heather Thomas on my wall, and I just got a Judy Landers poster.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
nice.
Judy Landers back in the day. But I keep having to tell my wife, this is before I figured out that I had a type.
What's the line? There's a movie line about that. She's the kind of woman I wanted before I knew what I wanted.
Yeah,
what is that from?
I'll have to dig it up. But yeah, she's what I wanted before I knew what I wanted. Yeah, but like my type now is totally different. And she walked in today, she goes, "There are far too many blondes on your wall." And I said, "Yeah, I think you might be right. Let me try to rectify that." You know, little does she know that the Heather Thomas poster.
I had all of them, literally all of them.
But the pink one, the pink jacuzzi one,
the pink bikini jacuzzi.
Yes,
one. Yeah.
There are alternate shots from that day that have been made into custom posters by people who got the negatives, and they're on eBay. They're not the ones you remember.
You probably shouldn't have told me this.
I have one in my room that I just got, and I'm like, she just told me there's too many blondes, but I have. It's weird, like that poster is so iconic.
It is.
To see it from a different angle and seeing her doing a different pose it's really startling. It's like the Mona Lisa moved. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start collecting those just because they're so neat.
How many variations are there?
I think there's, including the one that got produced, I think there's 5. And they're just, some are like slightly different. Her hands are in a different pose. But the one I bought is there's one of just from the top up.
Really?
Where she's got her hair completely wet. I mean,
I have seen that image.
Yeah, so the one I got is the one that's the most different from the poster. I'll show it to you. She's actually like pulling up the bottoms dramatically.
Like on the sides.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just funny. Like my wife's, she didn't yell that they're on the wall. She's like, "There's just far too many blondes here," and I'm laughing because she told me to buy that yesterday at the thrift store, that Britney Spears poster. So
the response you're supposed to come up with, I think, is, "I got a camera on my phone, babe.
Yeah, listen.
You want to even the ratio out a little."
Yeah, see, no, I was different. I was like, "Look, I got a Sharpie. I will." Heather now has black hair.
Oh, no. You couldn't do that.
I would never.
Not the Heather.
I put it in a poster, Hendel. I mean, a frame. I put the poster in a frame. That's how stupid I am. No, I got Elvira on the wall. Signed Elvira. You know. So, Yeah. The bottom line, though, kids, if you find someone that's into the same fandoms and things as you are, that's marriage material. Forget about waist size and how much makeup she wears, because all of that's going to go. And eventually, you're going to need something to talk about. And if you find yourself talking about the way she used to look, let me tell you what you've done wrong. You need to find common ground. Because, again, another theme of this show is I always give like marriage advice on how to stay married, because so many people are so quick to just, well, it's not like I thought it was going to be in the brochure, I'm out. That's not marriage, especially if you've got kids. You have to figure it out.
I don't hold myself up as any kind of role model there, but we've been 20 plus years. So
that's a role model in today's day and age.
I mean, I couldn't tell you how.
But like,
so apart from stick to it. Dude, that's the only advice I've got.
Kim Kardashian, the big hero of the idiots of this generation, was married 7 months. You know what I mean? And they go like, well, we don't want gay people to get married because it ruins the sanctity of marriage. And you're like, but that idiot can get married 6 times. What are we talking about here?
That's ridiculous.
Who's ruining who? So, not to devolve into that. So, what was the last thing you remember doing in your Dungeons & Dragons adventure?
Most recently, like I said, I'm still playing in a game, and the last session was last October. I am currently playing under the new D&D rules. They have a race that's kind of a demon background.
I've dated a few.
Yeah. So I came up with this kind of like your gaseous cloud. I wanted to do one that was 2 different characters in one body.
Oh,
so
that's
because
good.
of the demonic origin, they're twins, a brother and a sister. They have completely different. It's a split personality thing, but they're sharing the body.
Oh, that's great.
And
that's
I don't control when they flip. The DM does. So he tends to do this. We're in the middle of a battle or something, and I'm getting ready to do my thing, and he flips it. Now I got to play the other one. And
that's drama.
That's my
right
current character I'm playing.
Other question: how many hours of Gauntlet did you play?
I played a fair amount, but only because I worked at Chuck E. Cheese for a while, and so after closing, we could play as long as we wanted.
You see, we played at Time Out at Cerritos Mall. Because
I remember that arcade.
Laura's brother Vaughn was the guy with the change belt. And he had the key.
Exactly.
So he would open it up and put infinite credits.
The button there?
Yes. And I could. It was funny because the first time we did it, I remember just like, this is the greatest thing ever. I could just hit, because Gauntlet you could just keep playing.
Right. As long as you're willing to feed it.
The game didn't end, right? But there came a time, probably about, no joke, like 45 minutes in, I was like, this would just take all my money. I think I've learned a valuable lesson here in economics, and it's deliberately killing us all to take our quarters.
The one I remember being hooked on was not as a player, because I didn't have that many quarters to spend, but as a viewer, it was Dragon's Lair.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the first ones where they actually had a screen set up specifically for people to stand and watch.
Yeah, a viewing screen. Absolutely.
Separate from the play screen.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah. Dragon's Lair was the first, in my arcade, 50-cent game. Mm-hmm. And so I would look at it and go, oh, screw that. Tempest is given 2 credits for a quarter over there. I'm not putting my money in that thing.
And it was just memorizing a series of moves, but it had it felt like a D&D game, standing back and watching it. Oh, yeah. Always going through all the traps and things.
Yeah, it was the Don Bluth animation, right. Dirk the Daring, Princess Daphne was drawn beautifully. And let me tell you, you know this. Anytime somebody got to the Dragon Chamber, the whole arcade stopped.
Gathered. Oh, yes.
And everybody was like,
all the way.
Somebody's in the Dragon Chamber. And all the meerkat heads would turn. Games would die as we're playing. Doesn't matter, because somebody's in the chamber, and we would watch and make, oh my God, is he going to make it? This is the greatest thing ever. And I think I maybe saw 2 guys get all the way to the end. No, because it was really hard.
And Chuck E. Cheese was too cheap to have a Dragon's Lair, so I never got to play that one.
Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, and then the abominable.
But that was the beginning of the screens. That was the beginning of the end. That's what I thought was going to be neat. I had all these thoughts that eventually we would be playing in these VR environments, and that would be the future of D&D, and wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
And now that we're almost where we can actually do that, I don't want it anymore. it's the girl I wanted before I knew what I wanted. Yeah. I just want to go back to the table.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my roll of dice and my pencil and my paper and sit around the table with a bunch of buddies and some booze.
It's like Six Flags out here. They're putting those headsets on a roller coaster, and you go, You're on a roller coaster. What more do you need?
All the rides are turning into screens. And that one at least still has some physical motion with it.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's all screens.
Yeah.
No.
It's all screens. The only one that intrigues me is they're going to do one with Superman where it's the same exact surroundings. So when you put it on, it's like you're not wearing them. But then Superman will fly up and fly alongside the ride.
It's augmented reality, not virtual reality. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Then there's that the Void.
Well, they got versions of augmented reality you can play now on your phone.
Yeah,
where you walk around town and things pop out from behind things. You can play games that way.
Things pop out for me anyways. I don't want to do that on my phone. You know. But like the Void is that center they're supposed to be opening all around the country where what you're talking about. You haven't heard this?
No, I haven't heard.
It's called the Void. Imagine you're walking a hallway and in reality it's just plain with panels that are just
holodecks.
Squares, right?
They're building
when
holodecks.
you put this on, when you put the goggles on, you're in the alien world and everything's been catacombed and decorated and the aliens. I mean, it looks great.
Is it real or is it virtual?
You're
It's
walking,
all virtual. It's in the goggles.
You're walking through an environment wearing the goggles,
and the environment in the goggles is mapped to the real world environment, so it knows you. Yeah. You're walking through real corridors, but the decor of the corridors is in the
Imagine walking through a haunt maze wearing the goggles. That's what it is. You don't have to decorate the maze because it's all done in the computer.
I have really mixed feelings about that.
I know,
man.
It's weird.
I'd try it. Yeah. I'd try it.
And the other thing, obviously, is I just was reading a really funny article today. Is they're making pornography for these things?
Oh, yeah.
And I saw a couple of like Drudge Report linked to a story, and they're talking about the actor, like the chick, the focus of the video is in front of the camera,
right?
But the guy has to wear it.
Yeah.
So he's wearing 40 pounds of camera.
Can't see anything.
And he has to have sex with this girl while he's wearing it. And then they go, well, stop and do it again. And the guy's like, I'm exhausted. And I just think, like, of all the, like, first of all, it's first world problems, right? And second, it's like, well, maybe that's not that pleasant. I mean, be like, look, the girl of your dreams wants to have sex with you, but you have to dress up like RoboCop.
The only way you're going to get anything out of it is you watch the movie afterwards.
Right. The guy's like,
I was in this.
I actually did this. I actually did this to her, and the video is more fun. Now, what about I loved the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Did you watch it?
I wasn't into the cartoon. I didn't really see much of it. I had the comic books I collected for a while.
Yeah, okay.
But I never, I mean, I was aware that it was out there, but I didn't, again, I was in a thing called the Ultimate Campaign with all the rules, and the D&D cartoon seemed kind of silly and goofy to me.
It was silly and goofy, but for those of us who played the game, like, it was for people who didn't play the game. That's what it was for. But for those of us who did...
There were enough in-jokes
They'd throw you a bone once in a while. Like, one time they battled the Beholder. It was an episode called Beauty is in the Eye of the Beholder.
I mean, all of this D&D stuff, if you look for it, pops up all over the place. Yeah. We're talking about the movie at the beginning here we were talking about, not Golden Child, Big Trouble. The Beholder turns up in that for no particular reason.
Right.
But there it is, and you know that's what it is. Can't be anything else.
Borrow liberally. And then once in a while, Tiamat would appear on the cartoon, the multi-headed dragon.
Right, the chromatic... No.
A bunch of them. Now, and I just like the angle of the cartoon was these kids get on a Dungeons and Dragons dark ride, and they're transported and they can't get out. I just like that was cool. And they had all of the classes represented.
Well, they had to.
So they did their homework. It was pretty good. And then the other thing was,
what was the cute little talking animal? I remember there was one. What was it?
The unicorn.
No, it was a little thing with a wizard's hat.
What am I thinking of? They had the dungeon master was on it. He looked like Yoda.
Maybe that's who I'm thinking of.
But he was like the wise guy who was like, you've almost found the way home. It's just around the bend. But it never was. Because if they go home, there's no show, right? I get that. It's a Gilligan's Island syndrome.
Yeah.
But I just remember getting up Saturday like, that's required viewing. Because I play that game. I want to watch that show. And the other thing I always say on the show is, my mother was very clear with me. If I was going to collect Star Wars toys, That's what I was going to collect. But to that end, I had them all. I had cases of figures. Darth Vader cases, vinyl cases, C-3PO cases, Ewok Village, the Shuttle Tidarium, the AT-AT, the Falcon, the Rebel Transport. You name it, I had it. But I would look through the Sears catalog and see the other toys, and Dungeons & Dragons had a really badass toy line. Do you remember this toy line?
Maybe this is the slight difference in our ages.
It's got to be. It's got to be. So they had two elements to the toy line. The first was they made static PVC characters of the bad guys. So you could have somebody to fight. They had like orcs and goblins and skeleton warriors.
Was this tied directly to the cartoon, or was it tied to the game?
This is tied to the game.
I don't know how I missed this. I had none of the toys.
They never made any toys of the cartoon. I would have died for those. In the toy line, they had Tiamat.
Right.
But I never saw Tiamat at retail. Ever. But they had fully posable figures, too, of all the classes. They had a wizard. They had a paladin. They had a
rogue or a thief.
Yeah, exactly. The little guy with a knife. Yeah, and all those. And then they had the centerpiece of any collection. They had a playset, the Fortress of Fangs. And it was this big green head that you walked through the mouth. It had traps. It had fake fire.
How did I miss this?
So much. I never had it.
I need to go look at like old Sears catalogs online or something now so I can find this.
The Fortress of Fangs, the figures are pretty common. With all their pieces, they're hard to get, obviously, because they had swords and shields. The Fortress of Fangs shows up on eBay once in a while, but if you want it complete, it's never cheap. Because a lot of kids were like me. These were offshoot toy lines when most kids collected Star Wars or right after that, He-Man. You know, He-Man
I'm guessing this probably got repainted and used as a He-Man, a lot of the molds and things later on.
No, because these were put out by LJN.
Oh, a different company.
And they never had any other toy licenses that big. They dabbled in those smaller licenses. No, totally, they could have if they'd had. Everything gets repainted, you know. That's another recurring theme on the show is laughing at all. Like I was showing my kids the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves toy line, which is all Star Wars figures and superpowers and Ewoks, and same with some of the other toy lines where that's the same toy. They're just oh my god, like the Indiana Jones line, the Raiders of the Lost Ark toy line was all repaints from Butch Cassidy,
the original
Butch and Sundance, the early years. The Cantina.
I can't imagine why that didn't sell.
I know, right? What kid wants that, you know? Who are you? Butch and Sundance. It's not even Robert Redford. It's somebody else. But, toys like that. I think that's about it as far as collectibles and stuff. Because they mostly have stuck to the core game, the figures. The art sometimes gets reproduced on posters and stuff.
They do art books every once in a while and stuff. But the big thing was that they created the industry. It all spun off from them. D&D was just kind of the first one that popularized it. You were mentioning Ghostbusters and Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, there are hundreds of spin-off games and game systems that to this day are still going.
I think you can extrapolate even further and say, without D&D, there's no Magic the Gathering. And without Magic the Gathering, there's no Pokemon.
True.
Like, it all stems from a bunch of guys with some dice and imagination. And I think that's, like, so core to the human condition. Like,
it's storytelling.
500 years ago, they told stories around the fire,
right?
And this is an offshoot of that, of wanting to be part of those legends and going to the Ren Fair with carpet on your feet and the whole bit.
I really wonder if there are stories that haven't been told yet by people like Spielberg and Lucas of their D&D.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean,
E.T.
opens with them playing Dungeons and Dragons.
It does. You're right.
It's a huge. It might be the most prominent
appearance
in a film.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They're really playing with like the little walls and everything. They're playing so well that I'm like, man, those guys have got a setup. Look at that setup.
We never got to that. We had the plastic mat that we rolled out and wrote with dry erase markers on the map, but we never got to building the full dioramas with the walls.
No, that's a lot of commitment, man.
That goes back to the tactical side of it again. I want to get to the story. What are we doing? What are we happening?
Plus, you build one of those little towns and you're stuck with it. It's not like you can burn it to the ground and start over. I gotta build it. Like I've got kids, so we've built a few missions. You know,
I haven't done that in a couple of years.
It'd be like building missions every 2 weeks. I'm not doing that. I have to give a special notation because we were talking earlier. Some of these figures are from my friend Chris Tensman in grammar school. His brother was a D&D guy in the 70s. And he did, some of these figures have incredible paint job. I can actually tell you, like, this figure here, we called Hercules. That guy
I'm pretty sure I've used this figure as a version of Hendel at one point.
Oh, I bet. Now, see, here's the thing. This one here was painted by Chris Tensman's brother. I can tell by the way it looks. It just has a look to it. But like this one here, this is a lizard man. This was painted by Mark Benton, my teacher.
Wow.
Who was a professional artist and used acrylics, right? This one that you're looking at, the Hendel one, was a Chris Tensman figure where the robe got chipped, so Benton painted the robe. So this is painted by both of them. So yeah, we were really into this stuff, man, and looking at figures and all the trappings of it.
Now I want to play. I want to play again. Every time I talk about this, I was like, I want to roll. Let's go. Let's play right now. I've played a few times with my kid and her girlfriend. They're both into it. They like it. We don't do it regularly enough for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'd ask you if you'd ever tried introducing it to your kids.
Yeah, I said my kids. Like, I can't even get my kids to watch a movie with me.
Roll for me to come in.
Oh wait,
here,
20. Three or higher. No,
Three or higher to
no.
get in?
That's the 20-sided.
Oh yeah,
9 or higher to get in the game.
Oh God.
Otherwise,
I just want to see.
You're in.
Ah,
16.
I wanted to see if she'd crit.
So,
I don't get it.
Rachel.
Huh?
Did you know anybody in high school who played Dungeons and Dragons?
Not a soul.
Were you aware of people that did, even if you didn't know them?
Heard of it. I knew it was some sort of little dice game, but I did not know anyone that played this game. No, that wasn't.
This is women. We just discussed. This is women repellent. You put this on, and you will not be bothered by women the whole day.
Which is a different group of people. That's all. A different group of women.
Not in high school.
Nowadays, girls play.
Nowadays is a totally
it's a
different rules.
group of girls than I, because I still don't know necessarily that would be my thing. But there is girls that play it now.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Times have changed. Women publicly admit they
But
watch Doctor Who.
I didn't even know anyone that would play it. I never even knew that type of person.
Yeah.
What kind of person? What would that
My
have been?
people lived for music. They were like punk rock, ska people. And the last thing they were going to do is sit around and roll some dice. They're looking for mosh pits.
It's interesting this is disparity because you were describing the dice was the least part of the game to you.
Sure,
it was a mechanic. You did
to
it.
her.
That's
the core of the game from her perspective.
You can buy them now at conventions and every shape and color, and they're pretty. And that's what I will if I'm walking down an aisle at a convention and I still know nothing about this game. But if there's a table of these dice, I go slowly to that table. I have no idea.
We had one of those jawbreaker size ones.
Yes,
remember
a D100.
Yes, man.
Big thing.
You roll that thing like a boulder. It would
and
knock
trying
the
to figure out
over.
what number's actually on top.
I can't tell.
The facets are so fine.
Okay, so the dice are not even part of the
game.
Well,
they are. Yeah,
but
they are.
They're only used for deciding things. The game is a made-up story. A community made up. It's doing a play around a table.
No wonder you loved it so much.
Well, yeah, I was telling him, in the grand scheme of playing, I never got to play. I was always the guy leading the story. Because I told the best stories.
I thought it was books and dice. I didn't know about these little people.
Well, there are books and dice, optionally.
You decide your level of commitment in Fight Club.
There are versions of role-playing games that have no dice, no papers. It's entirely in your head, sitting around telling a story.
I wonder why girls haven't come up with a whole girly version of this.
I'm certain there is these days. There's got to be.
What was it? Roll to enter Claire's.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You find a handkerchief, a
you
scarf.
battle the person taking down the sale sign before the sweater goes up.
Oh my God! This is Beverly Goldberg version.
I would play that.
You know, the last week's episode was about D&D. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh no, we watched it.
Oh, you have?
We watched it.
Because
this is why I'm more knowledgeable this week.
Not to give it away, but Beverly Goldberg was rolling to see how many hugs she got.
I could get behind that game as well.
But see, that's the thing. You can make it that version of the game.
Well, I was telling
what the players decide that it is.
When we moved out of Dungeons and Dragons, we played Ghostbusters role playing. So we fought ghosts.
Wow.
See that?
I'm trying.
But you were into the idea.
They had Star Wars. They had Indiana Jones.
It would fit for all those.
Watchmen.
Yeah, you're right.
Superhero. Yeah, everything.
Batman. Oh yeah, I could see it.
I mean, any scenario where you can come up with a character in your head that you would like to be temporarily. This is pre-cosplay cosplay.
She has no
cosplaying without the
space
cos.
in her brain for that. Look at she's
like,
looking at it like it's a bug.
Like Josie and the Pussycats battle. You know,
the record executive.
It doesn't even have to be about battle. Like I was proposing.
Battles are the least part of it.
Yeah,
I thought that was
the way some people play. It is. Sometimes battles are the main thing for some guys. They aren't. Wasn't for me. It was about creating a story. I was going to do one. There's a game called Goblin Quest, and I'd send you some paperwork. I was going to see if I could sell you on the idea of playing with your kids. It's a game where you play goblins, like the little town. You've seen like the Lord of the Rings movies, right?
Wouldn't you rather go do this out in the yard,
no,
like
but
that
here's
marking thing? At least I can understand you going around.
There are versions of that too, where they go out and beat on each other with throwing swords. They do that.
That is like physical.
I've done that too.
You're in the scene. I'm climbing a mountain to find a ring or whatever, but like I'm in it. Like my story is happening.
What they talk about. There's different ways of learning. You know, there's tactile learners and audible learners and so on. Yeah. You're a tactile player.
I watched a documentary on Larkin.
Here's what you're saying.
But
here's what you're saying, Rachel. You're saying, if I can transport it, you're saying, that sounds terrible. Why don't you just go out and buy property? Buy a railroad. Buy...
What? No.
The Monopoly.
It's called an imagination. You go out and you play Cowboys and Indians. I'm not really going to go shoot the kid down the street.
Why not? He deserves it.
But I'm going out and pretending to shoot the kid down the street is my point.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you can do that without ever leaving your seat.
Why? No wonder I wonder why there's a lot of heavy people.
Oh my God!
I'm just saying. Why would it? I'm sorry. Why wouldn't you go outside and do that? Really do that?
Because you look silly.
Well, that doesn't matter. Does anybody here sitting here not feel silly?
Playing with little people and dice.
Jeff Tucker, silly potty.
One of the we used to. Oh yeah, I know what you're. Python baby. My middle name is spelled differently than it's pronounced. It's pronounced icky patang. Beautiful.
Silly potty.
But spelled N-I, because apparently that's legal. You can pronounce things any way you want.
I'm going to tell you it right now. Are you ready?
Yes.
I think what happened, sadly, to this D&D stuff, is that cosplay was not popular when you all started. That's what I'm saying.
You're cosplay without the cos.
You're saying stuff we've already gone over. It's interesting.
Oh,
no, please.
No, it is interesting.
In
You're coming to the same
my
conclusion.
eyes, the need for this is no longer there because now the people you want to be, you just make them.
You can literally go out and be.
The costume you
but
see
that's
in your head.
just visual part of it. You can't actually do
the most important part of it.
You have to carry a 10-pound Vorpal blade.
15.
That too.
Make it out of foam core and styrofoam, then it's not 15 pounds.
No, that's you're absolutely right. We were talking about that. That cosplay has filled a lot of this gap, but that's just a lot of the cosplayers. Some of them actually do. You've talked about this at cons, where some of them are really into being the character.
Yeah,
and some of them are just wearing the outfit.
Some of them you walk up and try to talk to them as the character, and they don't even know what you're talking about. Or like the guy who's dressed as Griff. I did the lines to him so much, he just was like, I've had enough, and he walked away. Remember that guy?
I'm guilty. I'm bad. I cosplay just because I want to wear a cute outfit when I don't even know this back will
Poser!
Poser! Who the heck is the red Scarlet Witch? I don't know, but she's red and pink and cute outfit. I need to be her.
And that's a totally legitimate reason to wear the outfit, because you like it.
Right?
That's okay.
I sound like Kevin from The Office. That's called being a poser. What you're doing.
Then I'm a poser.
There's nothing wrong with that. I told him, people are like, why is Rachel coming in here explaining things again? Pretty girls at cons who dress in like rubber cat suits to be heroes. You just want to go up to the guy with them and go, you need to marry her now.
And he followed his own advice.
If she's willing to go to this length with you, this is the woman you need, because you're not going to get any better.
I'm conversation here, and God, Timothy, don't kill me. I was with Timothy, Knots Network, plug. I was at Knots Network, and this was about a year ago. Almost exactly a year ago, because it was Spook Show, not this year, the year before. And him and I were hanging out before Spook Show started. We walked the aisles of Halloween Club. I mean, there's every costume in the world. We were trying stuff on. We were being goofy. He bought a Batman onesie. We were like, I was like, oh my God, I want to be that Wonder Woman, and I want to wear that and that. And he's like, what do you have to do? Like, Jeff is so lucky. What do you have to do to find a girl that's going to wear all this crazy stuff for you, that is willing to wear costumes and go to events. And I'm like, your girl's out there. There's a crazy one, but I'm telling you, she's out there. No offense, Mary. She's out there.
Oh, there's none taken, Rachel. I am crazy.
I had no idea Mary was in there, too.
It's true. She's here.
A year later,
I once dressed up as a spider.
We're at the Spook Show, and I went with my family early this time, and I'm remembering how much fun I had with Tim last year, and I'm like, well, he got his wish. Mary will go to any of those conventions, be any of the characters he wants. She matches them for all the little stuff they do. That's so cool. But, you know, I don't think
I'm shedding a tear.
It is, though.
I'm shaking in my little spaceman boots, shedding a tear.
So if you find a girl that's willing to do all that kind of stuff, you're right. You just grab her.
You marry her.
Right.
Yes.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, you hear that, Tim and Mary? You heard what he said.
Oh,
he used the Mary word. Oh, Mary.
It's my name, but I'm not ready to get married. Thank you.
We shall see.
That may be the worst Mary. Most of your other characters I could recognize, but Mary?
It's about attitude. It's attitude. No, it's all about attitude.
Do Mary
Wait,
good.
I closed my eyes. Try it again.
No, it's about attitude. It's about attitude. Some characters, you're just there for attitude.
Sometimes you sounded like when you say my name, the way she always yells for me.
Rachel, hi!
Yeah, you sound like her a little bit because that's she always
Hi,
does
Rachel!
But that's it.
And then Tim always talks smiling. Hey, it's Tim from Naughty Network. And that's bad, but he always says this.
I can detect it, actually.
He always smiles.
It's in there.
I was taking pictures today in the park. You know, you just have to get in the zone.
You have to get his giggle. He actually goes like when something is so funny that he can't handle it.
And he vapes.
Yeah.
We shouldn't say that.
Oh, you better tell them because I don't know if this is an episode they'd tune in on, but now that we've just got that hardcore link from their marriage to the
we can make this entire bit disappear. Magic of editing.
You miss out on 91 Reasons. You miss out. So sorry. So sad. Too bad.
Anyways, I just like cosplaying, and I don't have to play this little dice game to do it.
God, it's the most condescending thing I've ever. We've done an hour trying to build it up, and she's like, "This little dice game you play is ridiculous."
Sorry, I'm a girl. That's my thing. I don't do. I like the pretty dice. They would make great earrings, and I would use them in crafty ways to make other things. Like if you guys that play Dungeons and Dragons would want to like buy cool things.
Oh, they have your pendants and things.
Yeah, I can do fun stuff.
Living with the Goldbergs. She's Beverly Goldberg.
I'm not going to deny that. It's like watching TV every week, and that woman is an amazing hero of mine.
You play your little dragon game. I'm gonna make. Mom, where are my dice? Oh, I made earrings out of them. Roll Mama's head for initiative.
I'm gonna go back to being Beverly Goldberg. Would you guys like cookies?
No, we're wrapping it up.
Good.
Stick around.
Oh.
We're out. It's almost an hour and a half.
It's dessert time.
It's dessert time.
Perfect.
We'll roll. Who gets the dessert?
Roll for how many cookies you get.
Well, I gotta roll the D20 for
Oh
that.
yeah, go for the big one.
Okay.
12.
Any final thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons? This was
my-
your brainchild,
My
your
eternal
baby.
gratitude to Mr. Gygax and Mr. Arneson for bringing this to us all.
Gary Gygax,
Do
right?
you guys have pictures of you guys at a younger age playing it? That's what I want to know.
Fortunately, I do not.
I think I'd have to look, but I think in one of the yearbooks there's a picture of us playing Dungeons and Dragons
Really?
under the tree at the table.
Oh.
I'll look it up in there and I'll see if I can find it.
Post
That's
it.
awesome.
You got it.
Well, yeah, why not?
I have pictures of me
no
at
shame.
fair back
So
when I
are
was
you guys
young,
gonna
but
get
not
together
at
and
D&D.
play a real game?
That's what I was trying to... Well, he didn't think we could sell the kids on it
No.
because they're into screens these days. But I had this whole scheme of...
Austin might entertain it. Luke would have zero patience for it.
I'd be game if I can drink while playing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the game
We just
would
got to
be-
pick the right game.
Well, I'm just saying.
And I was also saying, she'll laugh when I say this. We've only been in the Ren Fair together one time.
Our first date ever.
Yes.
That
Good
was our
pick.
first date. but yeah, that was fun though. We got to see everything.
It's happening now. It's running right now.
I still
I-
have the necklace
I
that you
wouldn't
bought
go
me
back.
that day.
It's too expensive for me.
3 years ago or 24 years ago. The necklace? I still have that.
Yeah.
I thought you were one of those guys at first. It kind of scared me.
Wait, one of those guys?
There's a Ren Fair type.
Oh,
right?
okay.
There's Hot Monster types.
But I
there's the
don't know
Ren
that I
Fair
see him
gang,
as the Ren Fair guy that you're talking
But
about.
I was
don't
just
see
dating
that.
him for the first time. I didn't know that. You know? He took me to go meet Bruce Campbell, go to the Ren Fair convention, and see a weird horror movie all in pretty much one week.
What was the weird horror movie?
The Vanishing.
It was The Vanishing. It's where Kiefer Sutherland kidnaps Sandra Bullock
These are
because
first
he's got
dates, the first
claustrophobia and he buries her alive.
Yeah.
And I was telling Hindle, remember when I had to open the door and show you that I collected toys?
Yes.
We should get your version
But
of that.
it's no
now.
different. I mean, her first husband collected baseball cards. I mean, every
That's true.
guy
It is really
has
the
a
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah, for my 21st birthday, I got batting gloves in bright yellow.
Woohoo! Well, you don't want to hurt your hand.
I'll never forget that birthday. I said, I'm leaving him in 2 months. And I did.
I made you a Princess Leia on indoor costume.
You did. I traded up. I went from baseball to cosplay. And
You went
conventions.
right past Slave Leia?
Yeah, those were my
I never
favorite.
knew how to make it.
Okay. The
That's a tough
fabrication
costume
problem.
to make. Yeah, even today, like I need help. I wouldn't know how to do that.
Well, too late.
But,
these
like-
days.
But you went for indoor, not for the traditional, because the original Leia seems like it'd be easier to
No, I
make. The
have,
white
like,
robe and blue
poncho.
buns. So that's
We
gonna be-
wanted to be
thing.
different.
We were different.
Everybody was doing
This is
traditional Leia.
93 when there weren't a lot of
I have
costumes
pictures
around.
of that
So we
convention.
wanted to like
And
stand
it was really
out.
homemade.
And
it
she
looked
did
like,
Leia. What were you for that?
I was Boba Fett.
Oh, you did do a
I made
pseudo matching
motorcycle
outfit.
helmet.
And then we had the same. Was it the same year that we did the X-wing fighter pilot in
Yeah.
traditional
Disneyland,
Leia?
the
We
first
walked the
ever
parade.
Mickey's Halloween treat. You could
Yeah,
wear a
pictures
costume
from
for the
that,
first
too.
time ever. She went as white robe Leia, and I made fully from scratch X-wing fighter pilot
Helmet
outfit.
and everything.
Helmet and everything.
Nice.
And I remember walking on the line for Star Tours, and the whole crew going, "Oh my God, get the manager!"
They threw their C-3PO, the licensed C-3PO, to walk down with us. It was just so cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a moment.
It was a fun costume.
Yeah.
Really good costume. Oh, the old days. now, I mean, the chest piece was one of those acrylic photo frames that's like thick. I just drew the buttons on and put shadowing. Nowadays, you did that. You go, "Sir, you're not even allowed to convention in a costume like that. We'll direct you over to this guy. He sells those boards. Oh, I think get a real
we
one."
had some pretty homemade.
Yeah,
costumes
everything
in
was.
the early
Everything was,
That's how we all
I
did
just, I was saying, my lightsaber when I dressed up as a kid was a paper towel tube covered in foil so it could hang on my belt. I didn't want, everybody had the plastic. I wanted
But
one
it wasn't
that-
collapsible. You
Right.
wanted it to be
I want on the
belt ready.
belt, and I just walk around. That's my lightsaber. We'll turn it on. No, a Jedi doesn't do that. I am a Jedi. Yeah, I was into that kind of stuff. You know, I'd love to have a real lightsaber now, but they're really expensive. Can't afford them.
Just
Have you
make
seen?
one.
What was your reaction on the new Star Wars trailer?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's all right.
I mean, it's
it's
going
hard-
back to our Star. It's not a redo. Like I still honestly haven't seen Force Awakens yet. I now have it.
I thought I saw on Facebook you were going to go
I
see
was
it the other
going
day
to
or
because I
something.
could listen to his commentary.
I'm like, oh, he's finally
but
watching
nobody
it.
in the house will watch it with me.
Well, that's telling.
Seriously,
That's telling.
nobody. My daughter's never cared for Star Wars, and my
Well,
wife's like, eh.
The thing, and this is where I'm not popular. Another Star Wars movie starring a plucky young heroine. We just
Yeah.
went to that well. This is diversity run amok. This is PC.
I'm willing
being
to let
shoved
that
on
go
you.
apart. I don't know enough about the character to know whether it matters. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but it just looks like The Force Awakens all
I
over
hope she doesn't
again.
turn into a Force sensitive in the whole bit.
Oh, God help
you know,
us.
but this is going back. This is kind of like Back to the Future 2, right? We're going back into the original events
Yeah.
and seeing them from a different angle.
Yeah, but this
a
is
new-
also a prequel. It's a prequel, man. And
yeah.
also, not only is it a
Yeah.
prequel, but it's now the counting. Well, no, if you count Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, 4 Star Wars movies about the Death Star. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
but at least it's the original one. It's
the
not
original
the
one,
sixth
right,
version that the Empire just won't give up.
I know. That thing that didn't work, we're gonna make it again.
We'll just do it bigger. It'll be good this time.
It looks interesting. I follow a guy named Jeffrey Wells who does Hollywood Elsewhere. He said it's a little early in the Star Wars movie canon to do the B movie, the B plot, the B cast. And he's like, anytime you do B cast, you're watering down your main product. And there's something to that. We just had a Star Wars movie in December.
That's true.
When
They are really packing him
What
in.
the
They're
hell?
starting to do the Frozen thing with it.
I'm used
but
to 3 years.
That's true.
You have to want it. It seems like today it's like, no, give the kids whatever they want.
But
Just make them shut up.
I almost discount Force Awakens. That's not the one for me. That was the reboot one. It's the same movie. It's not. This one is more interesting to me. This is the new, and it's early days. I may change my mind, but
a couple of things ring sour for me. I'm not a fan of Forrest Whitaker because He always plays Forrest Whitaker. He has very little range.
Actors.
I'm going to look at him and go, it's just the guy from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The other thing is Gareth Edwards, the guy who directed it. He directed Monsters. Did you ever see Monsters?
I don't think so.
It's about a couple moving through Guatemala after giant monsters have invaded the earth. We watched it. You hardly see the monsters.
I don't remember it.
They end up at a convenience store, and I think they both die. Spoiler alert. Then he directed, surprise, surprise, the big budget version of Monsters. It was called Godzilla. I was not a fan of Godzilla. I thought Godzilla was one of the worst films of the last 5 years. What a dumb, silly,
No, it was. That was the
silly
lowest.
movie.
I wasn't
and
impressed.
like this
Did you
guy's.
see that? I don't remember that
No,
either.
you wouldn't sit through that.
Good. I don't seem to remember anything.
He's directing Star Wars. Now, I'm all for, because I said this years ago, Lucas should be putting out a Star Wars movie every 2 years. Not the Skywalker saga, but
That's
the rest
kind
of
of
the
what
universe.
I'm interested in. That's part of the reason this appeals.
This is the first time we get to see a Star Wars movie without the trappings of the Jedi Order and the Skywalker family and Destiny. It's just, hey, it's Ocean's 11 in space. They got something, you got to go steal it. So, on that respect, I'm all about it. The trailer irritates me. They show the guy, the Admiral in white. It's Admiral Thrawn, but he's not blue. And that's like, well, just make him Thrawn. What are we playing, a game here?
There's got to be some kind of licensing deal. They didn't want to pay Zahn his money or something.
They
I don't
own
know.
all that. Zahn already got his check. They don't want to allow anybody else's stuff into the movie. It's always about that. When you read comics, when a new team comes on, they jettison
trash
all
can everything from the last generation.
You don't have to do that. Star Wars is built upon layer of memories. And as far as Star Wars stories go, to disavow or try to exclude Timothy Zahn's unbelievably good series,
the best Star Wars tie-in was
they
ever
should have
done.
just made them.
That trilogy.
Right. Just make them. It's the best representation of Star Wars other than the first
They should have just kind of gone in with a little stapler and the whole original theory how Lucas wrote 9 movies.
Yeah.
He probably wrote 9 titles, maybe. Just staple those to the original thing and say, look, this is the final 3 movies.
That's what made them so good.
Can we have cookies now?
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this up. Obviously, I'm talking out of my ass. I badmouth Ghostbusters. I'll be there opening night. Yeah. I badmouth Rogue. Well, she wants to go.
I want to see it.
Oh, okay. I'll see it
but
eventually,
I like
but not opening
Star
night.
Wars, the new one. So
I badmouth Rogue One. I'll be there opening night. I went and paid full price for John Carter. Like
I didn't hate John Carter.
No, I like John Carter. I say this all the time. I sit in the theater, the lights dim, and I'm ready to fall in love. Show me how good you can be. Because some movies, when they unspool, are the greatest stories you've ever seen on the screen.
We're going to a surprise movie on Friday night.
Yes.
Jeff's taking me to the movies, and he won't tell me what it is. He says it's a surprise. I can't know till we go.
That sounds kind of awesome.
That sounds fun, right?
I like that.
Yeah. So we're going to go to the movies.
You wouldn't even tell me what type of movie. Like,
No.
Is it comedy or horror or action?
That'll be next week's podcast.
Yeah,
kids.
we'll do a review of the movie you saw.
I'm just excited to get a date night and get out, so I'm like, I'm in. I don't even like movies, but it's a good nap if it's boring.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Right?
Better not go to one of those nice reclining theaters.
You know what happens in Force Awakens, right?
I am aware of the big spoiler, the big event.
She was asleep.
2 minutes of the whole movie.
Those 2 minutes.
I fell asleep when he walked in. I woke up. Everyone was freaking out because he had died. I was like, man.
She said it, not me.
Oh, if you haven't seen it by now.
Oh yeah, no, there's no.
But I haven't.
But you haven't.
But even I know that.
You haven't by choice, though.
Yeah.
You see, now you have to watch it twice because you have to watch it by
and
itself.
Yeah, and then with your
then
commentary.
with me talking incessantly through the whole film.
Maybe I'll just go home tonight and I'll sit up by myself all night and watch Star Wars.
I think you'll like it.
Because that's what's going to happen.
It.
It's like nobody in the house will watch it with me.
You should tell your daughter to watch it.
I get I understand
she
because
like it because she hadn't liked any other one.
I put on Inside Out and they practically wanted to run out of the room.
Inside Out, my wife had problems. It was an emotional thing, and she just can't watch that.
Yeah,
too tough.
It wasn't emotional to me. I just couldn't handle that movie. Just didn't do it for me. Sorry. But The Good Dinosaur, who he won't stop bashing, I loved that one.
It's pretty, but that's all.
That one.
There's nothing Pixar about it other than the beauty.
The father-son relationship. relationship.
Yeah,
is
but
like...
not in a way that nobody else does. Pixar stuff's special. It's supposed to be special, and that wasn't.
It really?
No, it was
Special
beautiful.
to me, and it was really pretty, but it was special to me.
But it's kind of like Brave. It was like predictable from the start.
Oh,
you kind of
God,
knew where that was going.
I couldn't wait
and
for
again,
Brave
it was
to
beautiful.
end. Brave was so bad. Oh my God. Here's what not to get into this.
I didn't hate it. There's only one Pixar movie I despise. Cars 2.
Yeah.
I didn't see Cars
No,
too.
we didn't even see it. I hate movies, and this is across the board, where if you walk into a room and I'm in the room, it's really hard for me to hide because there are so many variables of the human condition, breathing, the movement of air. I mean, some people just know. Like, you can just sense that somebody's in the room. So the idea that a bear is moving through the castle and nobody sees it is just stupid. Stupid.
We call that pulling the threads. Don't pull the threads, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a suspension of like, if you tell me, hey, he drives the car back in time, okay. There's a bear that nobody sees in the house. No, BS. I'm not buying it. There's a limit to it.
So I have an idea. I think you should have your birthday party this year and have it a giant one of these games.
I'll run it.
Oh, a giant one of those things.
Wouldn't that be fun? I'd even try it.
Well, you want to do the live action version or
Well, I
the
was just going to
tabletop?
say that. When you play tabletop, is there ever a chance to bring it to life and go back to the
A hybrid? That'd be interesting.
Because that would be fun.
Like chess boxing? You ever seen chess boxing? That's a real sport. Two guys start out, they play chess for 2 minutes or whatever. Then when the bell rings, they go into the ring and they box.
In the story,
and then they go back
Do you
to...
remember was it Archon or Battle Chess? The video game
Yeah,
Battle Chess?
yes, that was
This is the live version of Battle Chess.
Yes.
Wow.
Remember, the chess came out with a Star Wars flavor. There was Star Wars Battle Chess.
I don't remember
Oh
that.
yeah, that was awesome. The last thing my mother ever bought me before she died was a subscription to the Star Wars chess set, where they came.
Did you get them all?
And she died. I couldn't afford it.
Oh.
So
How
I had,
far did you get?
I had like half a set and the board. It was really cool.
Did they send you one side at a time, or did you get kind of a mixed batch, some light, some dark?
Some light, some dark. Yeah,
Okay.
they want to keep you guessing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. Like.
I could make so many cool little party hors d'oeuvres that have like things to do with
So
dice.
my birthday will be coming up in September. We will let you know. We're going to spend it apparently at a dungeon. It'll be a lot of fun. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, I think that'd be a great idea.
We'll be at a dungeon somewhere in the valley. I'll be wearing a 40-pound virtual reality.
It keeps getting bigger every time you tell it, Jeff.
No, the virtual reality pack.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Vorpal sword again.
I'll be wearing a 40-pound virtual reality pack and a 20-pound blade made of foam core. So, all right, we're going to wrap this up. Let's thank HENDEL for coming on the show.
Amy.
For his Patreon support of the show. If there's a topic you want to talk about or a movie you want to have reviewed, again, Patreon.com, search 91 Reasons. Thank you to everybody who supports us on our Patreon page. This is my third Patreon episode in the last 2 days. I did Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Coming to America, and Dungeons and Dragons. I couldn't be prouder to pay back people who support the show. The money goes directly into hosting the show, because hosting the show on Podomatic is not free. I have to pay for that. So thank you all for your support. Leave us a review on iTunes. Follow us on Facebook. We just had a whirlwind couple of days with our D student episode. So if you're still with us, after D student, thanks for hanging around. It's like when you go to a party and there's that guy that's really crazy and had too much to drink, and you're like, look, if he doesn't leave soon, I'm leaving the party. Oh, he's leaving now. Okay, I'll stay. Oh, good. Hey, thanks for staying. Hey, I know. Joey is one of a kind. I said it on the show. He's a crazy, crazy guy, and D student people follow him in a way that I can only dream and envy of. He is truly the master of his own cult. And speaking of master of his own cult, HENDEL Thistletop, everybody, whose middle name is the Knights Who Say Knee.
Wait, did you plug our stuff? Did you plug your?
I'm just a guy. What do I have to plug?
Your vest?
Oh, the Catawampers. Okay, we got to throw that.
Yeah,
It's just Disneyland has all their social clubs who run around all weekend. You see 30 different ones if you go out there for an afternoon. I thought Knott's ought to have one too, so we do.
Yeah.
And I picked the silliest thing I could think of at Knott's to base it on. It's the Catawampus.
Yay!
So we've got vests. We've got the whole social club thing going on. It's catawampers.com.
And you can follow the Catawampus on Twitter at KBF Catawampus. All he does is moo, but he does it so well.
Very authentically.
Thanks for tuning into this almost 2-hour episode. Let's go ahead.
Yes, they got to roll for how many reasons there are.
Let's go roll. And there are, Hendel?
91 reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?